Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something incredibly fundamental, something most of us probably don't think enough about: sleep.
It's true. We're diving into the science, the real hard data behind why sleep isn't just downtime. It's maybe the most critical thing we do for our health. Mother Nature's best effort, you could say.
Right. And the context here is pretty stark, isn't it? Our main source, drawing on decades of neuroscience research, points out that two-thirds of adults in developed nations just aren't getting the recommended 8 hours.
Two-thirds, that's a huge number. And it's not just about feeling a bit groggy. It's a serious public health issue hiding in plain sight.
So our mission today isn't just basic sleep hygiene tips. We want to get into the why. Why is sleep the single most effective thing, as our source puts it, to reset brain and body health?
And maybe why modern life seems determined to sabotage it. We're going to unpack the benefits, the amazing things sleep does, and the really quite severe consequences of skimping on it.
Okay, so let's start there. The consequences.
Yeah.
If you're routinely getting less than, say, 6 or 7 hours, what's actually happening inside your body? What are the immediate risks?
Well, first off, forget just feeling tired. Your immune system basically gets demolished. Routinely sleeping that little way, it more than doubles your risk of cancer.
That doubles. That's a shocking statistic. How? What's the mechanism there?
It hammers your natural killer cells, NK cells they're called. Think of them as like your body's internal security force, hunting down dangerous cells, tumor cells.
Okay.
Just one night of only 4 hours sleep, it leads to a 70% drop in NK cell activity. 70%.
Wow. After just one night.
One night. Your immune defenses are just crippled. It's why the WHO, the World Health Organization, actually classifies things like shift work, which messes up sleep patterns, as a probable carcinogen.
That really reframes sleep as, like, essential maintenance for your body's defenses.
What about chronic diseases? Alzheimer's is mentioned. Absolutely. Insufficient sleep is now seen as a key lifestyle factor contributing to Alzheimer's risk. But the effects can be much faster, much more immediate than that. Take your metabolism.
Okay.
Even just moderate sleep reduction, let's say getting only 5 or 6 hours a night for just 1 week, can mess up your blood sugar control so badly.
That a healthy person looks pre-diabetic. That seems incredibly fast.
It is. What happens is your fat cells, adipocytes, they become much less responsive to insulin. So your body needs way more insulin, maybe 30% more, to handle the same amount of glucose you'd normally process easily.
And the pancreas can't keep up.
Right. It struggles, glucose levels stay high, and boom, you're showing metabolic signs of prediabetes. Now, the good news is get back to 8 hours, and this usually reverses pretty quickly. But it shows how sensitive things are.
So sleep is deeply tied into how we manage energy, not just rest. And the heart risks, they sound just as serious.
They are. It's linked to keeping your sympathetic nervous system, your fight-or-flight system, stuck in overdrive. Short sleep means higher heart rate, higher blood pressure.
All day long.
Yeah, and crucially, it prevents that natural dip in blood pressure that should happen during deep sleep at night. It's called nocturnal dipping.
Like a pressure release valve that fails to open.
Exactly. The system stays overloaded. Over time, this makes your coronary arteries more likely to get blocked, stiffen up. It's a direct route to cardiovascular disease, stroke, congestive heart failure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's this fascinating bit of data around daylight saving time.
Oh yeah, the spring forward.
That's the one. When we lose that single hour of sleep in the spring, hospitals see a 24% jump in heart attacks the next day.
24%. From 1 hour.
Yeah. And conversely, in the fall, when we gain an hour, there's a 21% drop in heart attacks. It just shows how acutely vulnerable our heart is to even small sleep losses.
Okay, that's physical.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned mental health. How does lack of sleep affect our emotional stability?
It's about brain control, really. Sleep loss weakens the connection between your prefrontal cortex, the rational decision-making part of your brain, and your amygdala, the emotional hotspot.
So, the brake and the gas pedal.
Kinda, yeah. The rational brake loses control, and the emotional gas pedal becomes hyper-reactive. Studies show people are up to 60% more reactive to negative stuff when they're sleep-deprived.
So it's not just being grumpy, it's being less rational, more emotionally volatile, which leads to that stark summary. The shorter your sleep, the shorter your lifespan.
It's a biological truth, really. The I'll sleep when I'm dead idea. It's just unfortunate, biologically speaking. You're actively choosing a shorter, unhealthier life.
And the sources give 2 examples where lack of sleep can literally kill you directly. The first one sounds terrifying: fatal familial insomnia.
FFI.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredibly rare, thank goodness, but it's caused by this genetic mutation. Starts in midlife, usually, as insomnia that just gets worse and worse.
And nothing helps.
Nothing. No drugs, no treatments. What's happening is the disease destroys a part of the brain called the thalamus, which is like the brain's gateway for generating sleep. Eventually, the person just cannot sleep at all.
Literally zero sleep.
Zero sleep. After about 12 to 18 months of this, they slip into a catatonic state and, well, they die. It's tragic, but it's absolute proof. You cannot survive without sleep.
It's nature making a very blunt point. The second example is much more common, sadly. Drowsy driving.
This is a huge killer, and it's largely preventable. The data suggests drowsy driving causes more fatal accidents each year than alcohol and drugs combined.
More than alcohol and drugs. Wow.
Yeah, someone dies every hour in the U.S. because of a fatigue-related driving mistake. Every hour.
You mentioned a difference between drunk driving errors and drowsy driving errors. Why is drowsy driving potentially even worse?
It's about reaction versus no reaction. A drunk driver, their reactions are impaired, slow, wrong maybe, but they usually still react.
Okay.
Someone having a microsleep that's an involuntary lapse into sleep could be just a second, could be 30 seconds, they stop reacting altogether.
Just blank.
Blank. If you crash during a microsleep, there's no braking, no swerving, nothing. It's a vehicle at speed with an unconscious person at the wheel. The crashes are often much, much worse. Performance after being awake for 22 hours. It's about the same impairment level as being legally drunk.
Okay, so sleep is clearly vital. The body must have some pretty sophisticated systems to make sure we get it. The sources talk about two key processes. Process C, the timing mechanism, and process S, the sleep pressure. Let's start with process C, the circadian rhythm.
Right, process C is your internal body clock. It runs on roughly a 24-hour cycle, dictating when you feel sleepy, when you feel alert, and it keeps ticking regardless of whether you actually slept or not.
And this clock is physically located somewhere.
Yep, deep in the brain. It's a tiny structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. Think of it as your brain's master wristwatch. It sits right above where your optic nerves cross from your eyes.
Which hints at how it gets set.
Right.
But the proof that it's internal endogenous comes from that classic experiment in Mammoth Cave.
Exactly. Researchers like Kleitman went down there, lived in total darkness, no clocks, no cues about time of day at all. The idea was maybe their sleep would become random.
But it didn't?
Nope. Their sleep-wake cycles stayed remarkably consistent. But here's the interesting part. Their internal day wasn't 24 hours. It was consistently a bit longer, like 24 and a quarter hours, sometimes 25. One subject was even closer to 28 hours.
So biologically, we're all running slightly slow,
Mm-hmm.
like a watch that loses time?
Or gains time. Actually, we run longer than 24 hours. We'd naturally drift later and later each day.
Okay. So that's where light comes in.
Precisely. The SCN is directly wired to your eyes. Sunlight, especially morning light, acts like someone pressing the reset button on that slightly inaccurate internal watch every single day, syncing it back to exactly 24 hours. Without that reset, we'd all be living on Mars time or something.
And process C controls more than just sleepiness, right? Body temperature is linked too.
Yeah, core body temperature is a big one. Your SCN orchestrates a drop in your core temp starting in the evening usually. You actually need to cool down by about 2 or 3 degrees Fahrenheit to fall asleep easily and stay asleep. Your temperature hits its lowest point about 2 hours after you normally fall asleep, whether you're actually sleeping or not. Trying to sleep when your temp is high, difficult. Being awake when it's at its lowest, you feel incredibly drowsy.
Okay, that's the timer. Now what about process S? The sleep pressure, the pressure cooker idea?
So process S is driven by a chemical called adenosine. Think of it as a byproduct of your brain cells using energy. The longer you're awake, the more active your brain is, the more adenosine builds up in certain receptors.
So it accumulates throughout the day.
Exactly. More awake time equals more adenosine buildup. This creates a measurable physical pressure to sleep. It's basically your body tracking how long it's been since you last rested properly. Sleep debt, chemically measured.
And what happens to the adenosine when we finally do sleep?
Sleep, both NREM and REM sleep, is when the brain clears out that accumulated adenosine. It's like emptying the pressure cooker, resetting the system so you can start fresh the next day.
Which brings us to caffeine. Because caffeine doesn't actually give us energy, does it? It just messes with this adenosine signal.
It's pure deception, chemically speaking. Caffeine's structure is very similar to adenosine, so it competes for the same receptors in your brain. It basically muscles its way in and blocks adenosine from docking.
So if the sleepiness signal is still there, you just can't hear it.
Exactly. You've got high levels of sleep pressure, high adenosine, but the caffeine is like putting earmuffs on those receptors. You feel alert, but it's an illusion. The underlying sleepiness is still building.
Hence the dreaded caffeine crash.
Right. Caffeine has a pretty long life in your system, a quarter life of maybe 10, 12 hours for some people.
Yeah.
As your liver eventually breaks down that caffeine barricade, all that built-up adenosine comes flooding back onto the receptors all at once. Yeah. And that sudden wave of sleepiness feels way worse than you felt before you had the coffee. You're paying back the sleep debt, often with interest.
Now, connecting these processes, C and S, to individuals, we're not all wired the same, are we? The whole lark versus owl thing.
Right, chronotypes. This is really important. Being a morning person, a lark, or an evening person, a night owl, isn't a choice. It's not laziness or lack of discipline. It's largely genetic.
How so?
Night owls, their whole circadian rhythm, including the release of melatonin, the sleepiness hormone, is shifted later. Their natural urge to sleep might not hit until 1 a.m., maybe later, and their natural wake-up time might be 9 or 10 a.m.
But society, especially school and many jobs, runs on a lark schedule. 7:30 a.m. starts.
Exactly. So society basically punishes owls. It forces them into chronic sleep deprivation, essentially giving them permanent social jet lag. And the health consequences are real higher rates of depression, anxiety, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, just because their biology doesn't match the clock on the wall.
It seems so counterproductive. Why would evolution allow for this difference? Wouldn't a tribe be safer if everyone slept at the same time?
But think about it from a group survival perspective. If everyone in the tribe fell asleep at 10 p.m. and woke at 6 a.m., the whole group is completely vulnerable for 8 solid hours.
Okay.
But if you have larks going to bed early and waking early, and owls staying up late and waking late, maybe the period when everyone is asleep is only 4 hours, from, say, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m.
So the group's overall vulnerable time is cut in half.
Precisely. It's a huge survival advantage. Having sentinels naturally awake at different times, the owl covering the late shift, the lark covering the pre-dawn hours, makes the whole community safer. Variability wasn't a bug, it was a feature for collective security.
Okay, so we've got the timing and the pressure sorted. But what's actually happening when we're asleep? It looks peaceful, but the brain is incredibly busy, isn't it?
Absolutely. Sleep isn't just about being still. You know, if you see someone, Jessica, sleeping on the couch, as the source puts it, there are defining features. You don't respond much to quiet sounds, but a loud noise wakes you up. It follows that circadian pattern we discussed, and your brain waves change dramatically.
And there's that weird thing with time, too. Consciously, you lose track. It's like a time cavity. But your non-conscious brain seems to know exactly what time it is, waking you up moments before the alarm.
Or stretching time out in dreams, right? 5 minutes on the snooze button can feel like an epic adventure.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk brainwaves. The football stadium analogy is pretty good here.
Right. When you're awake, it's like thousands of fans all chatting, individually fast, chaotic, desynchronized brain activity, lots of noise, no pattern.
Exactly. But then you drift into deep NREM sleep, non-rapid eye movement sleep, especially what's called slow wave sleep, and everything changes. The brain waves become incredibly slow, maybe just 2 to 4 waves per second, and highly synchronized.
Like the entire stadium chanting the same thing in perfect unison.
That's a great way to put it. A loud, powerful, rhythmic chant. And this deep, synchronous activity is what powers some of NREM's most important jobs, particularly memory consolidation.
Okay, memory. NREM and REM sleep seem to split the work here. What's NREM's specialty, especially early in the night?
NREM is like the brain's librarian or file transfer system. It takes new facts and skills you learn during the day, things temporarily stored in your hippocampus, which is like a short-term memory inbox, and it transfers them for more permanent storage out into the wider network of your brain, the neocortex. Those slow waves literally help shuttle the information. It's crucial for locking down that textbook-style learning.
And by moving those files out, it frees up the hippocampus again, ready for the next day's learning.
Exactly. It restores your capacity to learn new things. And this seems to be linked to these specific bursts of electrical activity during NREM called sleep spindles.
Sleep spindles.
Yeah, short, powerful bursts, maybe 12 to 14 cycles per second. They seem to be the save button for memories. The more spindles you have during, say, a nap, the better your memory consolidation and the more refreshed your learning capacity is afterwards. Nap studies show maybe a 20% learning advantage after a spindle-rich nap.
So NREM isn't just saving old stuff, it's cleaning the slate for new stuff. Now, this connects to aging, doesn't it? because there's this pervasive myth that older adults just need less sleep.
That myth is so damaging. The evidence suggests older adults need just as much sleep, probably the full 8 hours. The problem is they become less able to generate that deep, restorative NREM sleep.
It's a decline in ability, not need.
Precisely. It's sometimes called the Great Sleep Recession. It actually starts quite early, maybe late 20s, early 30s. By the time you're 70, you might be producing 40% fewer sleep spindles than you did as a young adult.
Which directly impacts memory then.
Hugely. And this decline in deep NREM sleep has a really concerning link to Alzheimer's disease. It's tied into how the brain cleans itself.
Okay, this sounds important. The brain's cleaning system.
Yeah, the lymphatic system is like the brain's plumbing. During deep NREM sleep, your brain cells actually shrink slightly, maybe by up to 60%.
They shrink.
Yeah, creating more space between them. This allows cerebrospinal fluid to wash through the brain tissue more effectively, flushing out metabolic waste products that build up while you're awake.
Like power washing the streets at night.
Kind of. And one of the main toxins it clears out is amyloid beta, that sticky protein that forms the plaques in Alzheimer's disease.
Ah, so if deep NREM sleep declines with age, the cleaning system becomes less efficient.
Exactly. And here's the vicious cycle. Those amyloid plaques tend to build up first in the frontal lobe, the very area of the brain that generates those deep, slow waves. So the plaques attack the source of deep sleep.
Which then impairs the brain's ability to clear out the plaques.
You got it. The loss of deep sleep seems to be this critical middleman linking amyloid buildup to the memory problems we see in Alzheimer's. It suggests that protecting your deep sleep, especially as you age, might be one of the best things you can do for your long-term brain health.
Wow. Before we leave NREM, you mentioned something called targeted memory reactivation, TMR. It sounds like sleep isn't just saving memories, but actively editing them.
It's fascinating stuff. TMR research shows you can kind of tag a memory while someone is learning it, say, associate it with a specific sound or smell.
Okay.
Then, while the person is in deep NREM sleep, you replay that sound or reintroduce that smell very quietly. And what happens is only the memories associated with that specific cue get strengthened and better recalled later.
So you can selectively boost certain memories during sleep.
Seems so. It suggests sleep isn't just a passive recording, but an active, discerning editor. It might even help us weaken unwanted memories in the future. It shows just how sophisticated sleep really is.
Okay, so NREM handles the filing, the cleaning, the consolidating of facts. What about REM sleep? Dream sleep. The source calls it the new kid on the evolutionary block.
Yeah, fully formed REM is mostly found in birds and mammals. It looks very different from NREM faster brainwaves, almost like being awake, but your body muscles are completely paralyzed except for your eyes darting around, and of course, vivid dreaming.
And its functions are different too, more about emotion and creativity.
Exactly. If NREM is about integrating facts, REM is about integrating experiences, especially emotional ones. And it's also about finding novel connections between ideas. Let's take the emotional side first, the overnight therapy idea.
Right, we talked about how lack of sleep makes the emotional brain, the amygdala, hyperactive. How does REM fix that?
REM sleep seems to process emotional experiences, particularly negative ones, but in a very unique chemical environment. During REM, the brain essentially shuts off the release of a key stress chemical called noradrenaline.
So you're replaying emotional events, but without the stress chemistry.
Precisely. It's like therapy without the anxiety. It allows the brain to process the memory, understand it, integrate it, but strip away the intense emotional charge, the visceral pain or fear. So you wake up, the memory is still there, but it doesn't hurt as much.
And this is sort of accidentally proven with PTSD treatment?
Yeah, with Dr. Murray Raskind and the drug Prazosin. He was using it to treat high blood pressure in veterans, but noticed it had this amazing side effect. It dramatically reduced or even eliminated their recurring trauma nightmares.
Oh.
Prazosin works by suppressing noradrenaline in the brain. In PTSD, noradrenaline levels are often sky-high during REM, trapping people in those terrifying dream loops. Prazosin lowered the stress chemistry.
Allowing the REM sleep therapy to actually work.
Exactly. It let the brain finally process and neutralize those traumatic memories. It was a powerful confirmation of the theory. REM needs that low noradrenaline state to heal emotional wounds.
Okay, so REM is our emotional first aid kit. What about the creativity aspect, the informational alchemy?
This is where REM gets really interesting. Instead of just storing information logically like NREM, REM seems to actively search for connections between distantly related ideas. It throws together concepts that your logical waking brain would never connect.
Forcing remote association.
Yes, your waking brain follows sensible paths. Your dreaming REM brain takes wild leaps, connecting things based on looser associations, emotions, past experiences. This is where those aha moments often come from.
The classic example being Mendeleev and the periodic table.
It's the most dramatic one, yeah. He'd been struggling for days trying to logically order the elements. He falls asleep exhausted and dreams the entire periodic table perfectly arranged. His REM sleep found the pattern his waking brain couldn't grasp.
And musicians, too. Paul McCartney dreaming Yesterday.
Exactly. Or Keith Richards supposedly waking up with the riff for Satisfaction on a tape recorder he kept by his bed. These complex, novel creations seem to emerge from that non-logical, highly associative state of REM sleep.
So it helps us find hidden rules or patterns.
Yes, things like understanding the underlying grammar of a new language you're learning, or seeing an abstract principle that connects different scientific facts. REM is building understanding and insight, not just storing data. It's making sense of the world in creative ways.
Okay, so sleep does all this incredible work memory, emotional health, creativity, physical cleaning, which makes it utterly bizarre that so many parts of our society seem designed to actively prevent us from getting enough of it. Education is a huge one.
Oh, it's borderline criminal what we do to teenagers with early school start times. It completely ignores their biology.
How so? Their clocks shift later in puberty, right?
Dramatically. An adolescent's natural circadian rhythm shifts maybe 2, sometimes 3 hours later. Their optimal sleep time might be 11:30 p.m. or midnight, waking at 8:30 or 9 a.m.
But schools often start at 7:30 a.m. or even earlier.
Which means we're forcing them to wake up at maybe 5:30 or 6:00 a.m. For their biological clock, that's like forcing an adult out of bed at 3 boy or 4.00 every single school day.
And we're robbing them of those crucial final hours of sleep.
Which are often the richest in REM sleep, the very sleep they need for emotional regulation and complex learning. We're basically sending them into the classroom sleep-deprived, emotionally raw, and cognitively impaired. It's madness.
Is there solid evidence that changing start times helps?
Absolutely. Look at Edina, Minnesota. They shifted their high school start time from 7:25 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. What happened? Students got almost an hour more sleep on average.
And academically?
Academic performance went up. SAT scores improved significantly in the top 10% of students, even attendance improved, and reports of depression went down. It's a clear win-win just by aligning school schedules with biology.
There's also a connection to ADHD misdiagnosis, isn't there?
This is a really concerning point. The symptoms of chronic sleep deprivation in kids, things like inattention, irritability, impulsivity, difficulty concentrating, look almost identical to the symptoms of ADHD.
So kids who's just chronically tired might get diagnosed with ADHD.
It seems to happen quite a lot. Some estimates suggest over half of kids diagnosed with ADHD might actually have an underlying undiagnosed sleep disorder, like sleep apnea, causing their symptoms.
And if you treat the sleep disorder,
Often, the ADHD-like symptoms just disappear. It really highlights how crucial it is to investigate sleep thoroughly before jumping to a lifelong diagnosis and medication.
okay, let's shift from schools to hospitals. Medicine itself has this historical culture of extreme sleep deprivation, especially during residency training.
It's a terrible legacy, and it traces back largely to one figure, Dr. William Halsted, a founding surgeon at Johns Hopkins. Brilliant surgeon, but he established this tradition of incredibly long shifts, sometimes 30 hours straight for residents.
Based on his own ability to work long hours.
Yes, but here's the kicker the source material points out. Halsted was secretly battling a severe addiction to cocaine and later morphine. His superhuman endurance wasn't discipline, it was drug-fueled.
But that became the standard. Sleep is weakness?
Exactly. This macho culture took hold, viewing sleep as optional, a luxury. Even though reforms have slightly shortened hours now, that culture persists and the impact on patient safety is horrifying.
What does the data show?
Residents working those extended shifts, over 24 hours, they make 36% more serious medical errors. Even worse, they make 460% more diagnostic mistakes, 460%.
Critical errors in figuring out what's wrong with a patient.
Yes. And the most chilling statistic, 1 in 20 residents during their training will be involved in a serious medical error, sometimes fatal, directly attributable to lack of sleep. 1 in 20 will contribute to killing a patient because they were too tired.
That's unacceptable. It's
Yeah.
such an obvious fix. Finally, let's look at the business world. This idea that more hours worked always equals more productivity.
It's a complete fallacy. The time on task equals task completion myth. And it's incredibly expensive for businesses. Sleep loss doesn't just make people slow, it makes them less ethical, more likely to cut corners, even cheat.
And less effective in teams.
Yeah, it causes social loafing, where tired employees basically slack off because they assume others will cover for them. And leadership quality plummets. Sleep-deprived leaders make poorer decisions, are less inspiring, less charismatic.
But the flip side is prioritizing rest actually boosts performance, right?
Yeah,
NASA figured this out.
they did. NASA scientifically studied naps. They found that a carefully timed 26-minute nap, the power nap, could improve task performance by 34% and boost alertness by over 50%.
34% better performance from a half-hour nap.
Exactly. It's why smart organizations, from tech companies like Google to military units, have embraced naps. It's not laziness, it's a strategic performance enhancer. It's an investment.
And one final modern challenge. Artificial light, especially from screens at night. How does that mess with our sleep?
It directly attacks process C, our internal clock. Our SCN is exquisitely sensitive to light, especially blue wavelength light, which is very prevalent in LEDs, used in phones, tablets, computers.
And seeing that blue light late at night tells the brain.
It tells the brain, hey, it's still daytime, don't start winding down yet. This powerfully suppresses the natural evening rise of melatonin, the hormone that signals your body it's time to sleep.
What's the measurable effect?
Studies using iPads, for instance, showed that just 2 hours of reading on a backlit screen before bed could delay melatonin release and push back sleep onset significantly, maybe reducing total melatonin by 23%.
So people feel like they have insomnia, but really they're just telling their brain it's the middle of the afternoon with their device.
Pretty much. It can look and feel exactly like sleep onset insomnia. Switching to a physical book under dim, warm light in the last hour before bed can make a huge difference for many people. #tag outro.
So wrapping this all up, the message from this deep dive seems incredibly clear. Sleep isn't optional. It's not a luxury. It's a fundamental biological necessity woven into every aspect of our health.
Absolutely. Neglecting sleep erodes everything: your immune system, your mental health, your cardiovascular system, your ability to learn, even your basic safety. We are just not designed to function without it.
It's that nightly system reboot, cleaning the brain, consolidating memories, healing emotions, strengthening defenses. Aiming for that 7 to 9 hours really is, as the source suggests, the single best health insurance policy you can give yourself.
It's the most powerful performance enhancer, the most effective longevity strategy, and it's free and legal.
Which brings us to that final, really quite chilling thought experiment tied to fatal familial insomnia, that genetic certainty of losing sleep entirely.
It poses these profound ethical questions, doesn't it? If you carried that gene, knowing you would one day face 12, 18 months of total sleeplessness followed by death, would you even want to know?
And the second question, if you knew you had it, would you risk passing it on? Would you choose to have children, knowing you might give them that same horrifying sleepless fate?
It really forces you to confront how absolutely central sleep is to our existence, to being human, to life itself. Take away sleep and, well, life becomes unsustainable.
It's a stark reminder of the power we hold each night to invest in our own survival and well-being.
So maybe the best takeaway is practical. Apply this knowledge tonight. Optimize your sleep space. Make it dark, make it quiet, and critically, make it cool. Aim for around 65 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 18.3 Celsius. Helping your body drop its core temperature is one of the best triggers for solid sleep. It's your defense. Use it.